should you visit Nashville, Tennessee? I mean, the answer is yes. So, video's done. You can click away. Don't actually click away, but yeah, you should definitely go. No brainer. Book your flights today, because it's a magical place, I swear. Hi, I'm Maya, and this is my so-called life. I live in New York City as a 20-something. I want to find and make the best food, watch all the recommended movies and TV shows, and see tons of cities in this country. Follow me on Instagram and subscribe to join in on the fun. Welcome back to this iteration of Should You Visit This City, a series in which I try to hit 30 North American cities before 30. This past weekend, I went to Nashville, Tennessee, and I'm very excited to share with you vlog footage of one of the best weekends of my life, not to be dramatic, but very excited to have documented this weekend because it will always live in my heart. Like, it was just so much fun. After the vlog clips, as usual, we'll go over travel details like how long I was there, accommodations, safety, how to get around, and food. So stay tuned for those details and hope you enjoy seeing a little bit of Nashville. Pretty decent for a continental breakfast. I feel like I haven't really seen breakfast sandwiches before. Maybe they're always there, but very impressed. There was like a bacon, egg, and cheese one too, but I always go sausage. LOL. Then I got a raspberry Danish. There were a couple types. And then I always mix hot chocolate powder with coffee to make like a mocha. And then yogurt, and then I got some orange juice as well. Apartment in New York City. Let's get into some of my Nashville travel details. First up is time of year. So I was there for the long 3-day President's Day weekend, which if you're watching this close to when it was posted, was the second half of February. I honestly couldn't tell you if it was busier or more touristy than usual because it was a long weekend, probably a little bit, but I get the vibe that it's a pretty touristy city in general, so I don't think it would make that much of a difference. In terms of weather, it was between like 30 and 65 degrees throughout the weekend, so definitely a little bit cooler than I would have expected. The idea a little bit was that it's cold in New York City, so I'm gonna go somewhere south where it's warmer, but I definitely used my winter coat for a lot of the days there. As for how long I was in Nashville, I would say I was there about 3.5 days, similar to how long I was in San Diego. I think this was a good amount of time. I definitely hit a lot of the areas and things that I wanted to do. I don't know that I could do a week in Nashville. Just by the end, I definitely was wanting to get home and be in my own bed. I was really sad to leave. I was really holding on to the fun memories that I made there. Regarding accommodations, I had originally planned on staying in a hotel for 2 nights and then moving over to a hostel for the next 2 nights just to offset the costs of the hotel. As you could tell in my vlog, the 2 nights in the hotel did not happen. I missed my flight, but I still needed those 2 nights in the hotel because I wanted to use the Wi-Fi for work during that full Friday. I had a pretty big presentation that day, so I wanted the Wi-Fi to be stable, but in order to adhere to my travel budget, I booked the hostel, which ended up leading to one of the best nights in not only Nashville, but maybe my life. I don't know. Going back to the hotel, I don't know if it was just Southern hospitality, but the front desk was amazing, super considerate, always very helpful. There was a shuttle that picked me up from the airport, which was really, really amazing. And there was a $10 shuttle service between the hotel and downtown, which was about like 30 minutes away. So I ended up using that a couple times. Overall, the hotel itself was clean and really, really nice. Then moving over to the hostel, which was in the midtown area, which was about a 30-minute walk from downtown. You know, we're talking plastic mattresses. I was on the top of a bunk bed, so I wouldn't say it was the best sleep in terms of either quantity or quality, but even as an introvert, I grew to really enjoy getting to know the other people at the hostel. There was a community kitchen area, and it was just really nice talking to people who were also either solo traveling or just there for a night and wanted to explore Nashville. As you saw in the vlog, I actually met 5 guys at the hostel, which at first I was like, I don't know if this feels safe, like, do I really trust them? But it actually ended up being so beautiful. Like, we went out downtown, a lot of us were there just for the weekend or the night, and it felt like I was out with a bunch of big brothers. Like, after every couple songs, we would like make eye contact and just make sure that, you know, everyone was okay, that we had our head count of everybody and didn't lose anyone. That night was just really special and, you know, just magical, getting to know people over dinner and feeling like we really got a sense of how each other were in such a short period of time. As much as I, you know, did not love the hearing, you know, every little sound of other people sharing this bedroom with me, I would not have had such an amazing night in Nashville had I not met the other people at my hostel. Getting around town, so I pretty much walked everywhere in Nashville aside from the shuttle or the Uber that I took to and from the airport. The Uber from my hostel in Midtown to the airport was, I think, between $20 and $30. Definitely not as cheap as Miami. Ride shares there were shockingly cheap. I don't know if it has to do with regulations or what, but I'd say it was pretty comparable. It wasn't ridiculously expensive. I did find it to be a pretty walkable city. I would say that there are areas where I didn't see a ton of other people walking around, but unlike San Diego, it didn't feel eerily quiet or, you know, potentially dangerous. There were homeless individuals in Nashville, not really in the same way that you see in New York or kind of even San Diego, so there were never times where I felt unsafe walking around. And different from New York City, but like a lot of cities that I've visited, there were rentable scooters almost everywhere in Nashville that I was almost tempted to use, but didn't actually end up using. My favorite category to talk about: food. I usually start these with either majority good or bad, and I have to say Nashville food, it was good. Like, up there with NOLA, almost everything I ate in Nashville was good. There were maybe a few things that were just okay, but it was not hard to find good food in Nashville, so don't you worry about that. I admittedly only had the time and the stomach space for coffee and a couple of touristy spots. For coffee, I would definitely recommend Barista, Parlor, Golden Sound. And then right around the corner for brunch, it is a bit of a wait, but I think it was worth it, was Biscuit Love. There were some guys on a balcony, like, overlooking where we were all waiting for Biscuit Love, and they were yelling about how the wait isn't worth it. I'm sure there are other biscuit places, brunch places that are far better, but I don't know. I just thought it was unnecessary. I think it was worth it. We obviously have to talk about safety and COVID in particular. From the moment I got to Nashville, I was shocked. Maybe I shouldn't have been shocked because I know that there are parts of the country that are not as concerned, but here in New York City, we get vax carded every time we go into a restaurant, an establishment. You have to be vaxxed to go to your gym. Like, there are people on the subways here who don't mask up, but it's kind of frowned upon. That is definitely not the case in Nashville. Even indoors, I would say majority of the time, people were not masked. And there were definitely times in some of the country bars where it was packed. Like, it felt like pre-COVID packed, where you were up against other people's bodies and people weren't masked. I really hope that the other people that I encountered were like me, vaxxed, boosted. I've had COVID, so an added layer of security there, but I highly doubt it. So if this is an area of concern for you during this time while traveling, Nashville's gonna be a hard one. Not gonna lie. And another thing that I wanted to touch on, which didn't end up being that much of an issue as time went on, but I definitely noticed that I was one of very few East Asian people in Nashville. I'd say by the end of the trip, I had seen more than 5, but less than 10 other East Asian people. Second to last category is touristy level out of 5. I'm going to give Nashville a 4 out of 5. You definitely see a lot of bachelorette parties. I kind of expected that. I was actually surprised that a lot of the people visiting Nashville were from other southern states. Most of the time, the dominant accent, I guess, was a southern accent. Because I stayed in the hostel, I did encounter quite a few people from European countries. It definitely felt like a touristy city, but you can tell that the core integrity and culture of Nashville is not terribly changed by the people that visit it, if that makes sense. And lastly, I feel like the answer to this question is very obvious, but would I go back? And the answer is absolutely. I cannot wait to go back. If I didn't have, 15 cities left to hit in the next couple years, I would be itching to go back to Nashville next month. It's just so much fun. I've been back home for 4 days now, and Nashville still is so dreamy that it lives in my mind rent-free, as they say. So definitely want to go back. And if you haven't been to Nashville, if you haven't even considered it, please do. I'm gushing about it to everybody because it's just a blast. Whether you're going alone like me or with friends, which I definitely want to do, you gotta go. Alright, that's it for this iteration of Should You Visit Blank City. I hope you enjoyed this, maybe learned something new, and are inspired to plan a visit yourself. I'll see you all next week. Bye.